Zara's wedding night was supposed to be sacred, until she woke up in the wrong man's arms, her body still trembling from a passion she'd never known, only to discover the stranger beside her wasn't her husband but his identical twin brother. The real Kang Min-ho, Seoul's most feared mafia boss, stood in the doorway with murder in his eyes and a wedding ring that matched hers, watching the woman he'd waited years to claim tangled in sheets that weren't his. Now she's trapped between two brothers who share a face but not a heart, and the man she actually married is about to show her exactly what happens when someone touches what belongs to him. Welcome to Afrokorea TV. Please like, share and subscribe. The wedding had been a blur of white silk and red roses, traditional Korean bows mixed with African drums that echoed through the private estate outside Seoul. Zara had barely known the man she married, Kang Min-ho, a powerful businessman her father's company desperately needed as an ally. The arrangement was simple. 1 year of marriage, then freedom and her family's debts cleared. She'd agreed because she had no choice, because her younger siblings needed food and her mother needed medicine, because sometimes love was a luxury African girls couldn't afford. The reception ended early. Min-ho had been cold, distant, his handsome face unreadable as he'd introduced her to associates who looked at her with either curiosity or contempt. When he told her to go upstairs to the bridal suite, his voice had been flat, almost bored. She'd obeyed, her heart sinking with the reality that this marriage would be as empty as she'd feared. But then he'd come to her in the darkness. His hands had been gentle, his voice softer than it had been all day, whispering things in Korean she didn't understand but felt in her bones. He'd touched her like she was precious, like he'd been waiting for her his whole life, and when he'd made love to her, Zara had felt something crack open inside her chest, something dangerous and terrifying and absolutely impossible to ignore. She'd fallen asleep in his arms, believing maybe this arrangement could become something real. The morning light was cruel. Zara woke to voices, two of them identical in timbre but different in tone. Her eyes opened slowly, her body sore in places that made her blush, and she turned to see the man from last night standing by the window. Relief flooded through her until she noticed the second man standing in the doorway, wearing the exact same face, the exact same build, but with eyes that burned like black fire. Who? Her voice cracked. The man by the window turned, and his expression was anguished, guilty. The man in the doorway stepped forward, and Zara's blood turned to ice. He wore a black suit, perfectly tailored, and his presence filled the room like smoke, suffocating and inescapable. This man radiated danger. This man radiated power. This man was her husband. Get out, Jae-won, Min-ho said quietly, his voice like a blade sliding from its sheath. The man by the window, Jae-won, the twin, the stranger she'd given herself to, looked at Zara with something that might have been longing or regret. Young, I didn't know she. Get out. Jae-won left without another word, and Zara pulled the sheets up to her chin, her entire body shaking. Min-ho closed the door with a soft click that sounded like a gunshot in the silence. He didn't move closer, just stood there watching her with those black eyes that seemed to see straight through her skin. I didn't know, Zara whispered, tears burning her throat. I swear I didn't know there were two of you. He said he was you. He didn't say anything, Min-ho interrupted, his voice still terrifyingly calm. Jae-won doesn't speak. He hasn't spoken in 10 years. The words hit her like a slap. All those whispered Korean endearments, the voice that had made her feel cherished. It had all been in her imagination, her desperate hope turning silence into promises. Later that morning, Zara sat in Min-ho's office, wearing a robe someone had left outside the bedroom door. Min-ho sat behind a massive desk, his fingers steepled, watching her like she was a problem to be solved. The room was beautiful, all dark wood and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's skyline, but it felt like a cage. Your family's debt is cleared, he said finally. The marriage contract is void. You're free to go. Zara should have felt relief. Instead, she felt something shatter. Just like that. Just like that. Because he. She couldn't finish the sentence, shame burning through her. Min-ho's jaw tightened, the first crack in his perfect control. Because this marriage was a mistake from the beginning. I'll have my driver take you to the airport. First-class ticket to Lagos, cash settlement, everything we agreed upon. I don't want your money, Zara said, standing up. I want to understand. Why did he do it? Why did you let him? I didn't let him do anything. Jaewon makes his own choices. Minho stood as well, and for the first time Zara saw something dangerous flash in his eyes, something possessive and furious and barely restrained. And you made yours. The accusation stung. I made a choice based on a lie. Welcome to my world, Mrs. Kong. The title sounded like mockery. Everyone lies. Everyone takes what they can get. You're not special. But the way he looked at her, like he wanted to destroy something or worship something or both, told Zara she was very, very wrong about what she meant to this man. By the end of the week, Zara was still in Seoul. She'd refused the ticket, refused the money, refused to leave until she understood what kind of trap she'd walked into. Minho had her move to a penthouse apartment across the city, assigned bodyguards she didn't want, and avoided her completely. But Jaewon didn't. She found him in the building's garden on the third day, sitting beneath a cherry blossom tree with a sketchbook. He looked up when she approached, and his eyes were so different from Minho's, soft where his brother's were sharp, sad where Minho's were angry. Why did you do it? Zara asked, sitting down beside him. Jaewon's hands moved quickly, signing something she didn't understand. Then he pulled out his phone and typed. Because Hyung was going to ruin everything. He doesn't know how to be gentle. I wanted to give you one good memory before he destroyed you. Zara read the words twice. He's not going to destroy me. Jaewon's smile was bitter. He typed again. He destroys everything he loves. That's why I don't speak anymore. He loved me too much and I lost my voice trying to survive it. The following morning Zara woke to find her apartment filled with flowers, hundreds of white roses, the same ones from her wedding. No card, no message, but she knew they were from Minho. She called the number he'd given her for emergencies only, and he answered on the first ring. Take them back, she said. No. His voice was rough like he hadn't slept. I don't want your guilt flowers. They're not guilt. They're a reminder. Of what? That you're still my wife. The marriage contract might be void, but the legal documents are still binding. You want to understand my world, Mrs. Kong? Lesson 1. I don't let go of what's mine. He hung up before she could respond, and Zara threw her phone across the room, frustrated and confused and terrifyingly attracted to a man who looked at her like she was both his salvation and his damnation. That evening Minho appeared at her door unannounced. He wore dark jeans and a black sweater, looking less like a mafia boss and more like a man who'd lost something he couldn't find. Zara opened the door in leggings and an oversized shirt, her natural hair wrapped in a silk scarf. No makeup, no pretense. We need to talk, he said. Now you want to talk? May I come in? Zara stepped aside and Minho entered her space like he owned it, which technically he did. He went straight to the windows looking out at the city lights, his shoulders tense. The silence stretched until Zara couldn't bear it. Your brother said you destroy everything you love. Minho turned and something flickered across his face. Pain so raw it made Zara's breath catch. Jaewon talks to you? He types. He doesn't communicate with anyone. Not in 10 years. Minho moved closer, and Zara forced herself to stand still even though every instinct told her to run. What else did he tell you? That you loved him too much. That it cost him his voice. Minho stopped 3 feet away, close enough that Zara could smell his cologne. Something dark and expensive. When we were 17, men came for me. Rival gang, trying to take my father's territory. They took Jaewon instead, held him for 3 days, tortured him to draw me out. When I found him, his throat was so damaged from screaming that he never spoke again. Zara's hand flew to her mouth. Oh God. I killed every single one of them, Minho continued, his voice empty. Burned their organization to the ground. My father made me his heir that night because I showed I was willing to do anything to protect what was mine. But Jaewon looked at me differently after that. Like I was the monster, not them. You saved his life. I destroyed his soul. Minho's eyes met hers and Zara saw the truth. This man didn't just destroy his enemies, he destroyed himself with guilt. That's what happens to people I love. They break. They leave. They become collateral damage. Zara stepped closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. Is that why you were going to send me away? Because you think you'll break me? I know I will. What if I'm stronger than you think? Minho's laugh was hollow. You spent one night with my brother and you're still here. You should have run the moment you learned what I really am. What are you, Minho? He moved so fast Zara didn't have time to breathe. One moment he was 3 feet away, the next he was inches from her face, his hand cupping her jaw with a gentleness that contradicted the violence in his eyes. I'm the man who's been obsessed with you since the moment I saw your picture. I'm the man who arranged this marriage not for business but because I couldn't stop thinking about you. I'm the man who stood outside that bedroom door on our wedding night, listening to my brother give you the tenderness I don't know how to show, hating him and hating myself and wanting you so desperately I could barely breathe. Zara's heart slammed against her ribs. Then why? Because he touched you first. Because you wanted him, not me. Because I'm poison, Zara, and you deserve better than what I can give you. What if I don't want better? The words escaped before she could stop them. What if I want you? Minho's control snapped. He kissed her like a man drowning, his mouth claiming hers with a hunger that made her knees weak. Zara kissed him back, her hands fisting in his sweater, and for a moment there was nothing but heat and need and the taste of his desperation on her tongue. Then he pulled away, breathing hard, his forehead pressed against hers. This is a mistake. Probably. I'll ruin you. Maybe. Zara smiled, reckless and terrified and completely certain. But I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of living half a life because it's safer. You want to know why I'm still here? Because that night, even though it wasn't you, I felt something I've never felt before. Like I mattered. Like I was seen. And when you look at me, I feel it again. Minho closed his eyes like her words caused physical pain. You matter more than you know. That's the problem. The next day everything changed. Zara woke to bodyguards rushing into her apartment, pulling her from bed, shoving her into a bulletproof car. Minho was already inside, his face a mask of cold fury, a gun in his hand she pretended not to see. What's happening? She asked. My enemies know about you, Minho said flatly. There's a price on your head. We're moving you somewhere safe. Your enemies? I'm not even really your wife. You are my wife in every way that matters. He finally looked at her, and the possessiveness in his gaze stole her breath. The whole city knows I married you. The whole city knows I've been keeping you close. That makes you a target, and I will burn soul to ash before I let anyone touch you. They drove for hours, leaving the city behind, climbing into mountains Zara didn't recognize. The safe house was a fortress disguised as a traditional Korean home, all natural wood and stone, surrounded by guards who moved like soldiers. Minho carried her inside personally, ignoring her protests, and didn't put her down until they were in a bedroom with windows overlooking misty valleys. You'll stay here until I eliminate the threat, he said. How long will that take? As long as it takes. And what am I supposed to do? Just wait. Minho cupped her face with both hands, and his touch was achingly gentle. Yes. Wait for me. Trust me. Let me protect you. I don't need protection. I need answers. Who wants me dead? Park Young-soo. He runs the Southern Territories, and he's been trying to take my position for years. You're his leverage now. Then let me go. If I leave Seoul, if I go back to Nigeria, he'll follow you there. Minho's thumb brushed her cheek. He'll use your family to draw you out. He'll hurt everyone you love until you come back to me. The only way to keep you safe is to keep you close and end him permanently. That evening Zara sat by the window watching the sunset, trying not to think about the fact that she was in hiding because she'd married a man she barely knew. Jae-won appeared in the doorway, and she wasn't even surprised anymore. Does he send you to babysit me? She asked. Jae-won shook his head and typed on his phone. I came because you're lonely, and because Hyung won't admit he needs someone to make sure you don't run. I'm not going to run. Why not? Most people would. I'm not most people. Zara smiled sadly. And your brother is not the monster he thinks he is. Jae-won sat beside her and typed for a long time before showing her the screen. He killed a man in front of me once. I was 12. The man had insulted our mother. Hyung beat him to death with his bare hands and didn't stop until our father pulled him off. That's when I knew my brother loved too much and too violently, and the only way to survive him was to become invisible. So I stopped talking. If I didn't speak, I couldn't say the wrong thing. If I didn't say the wrong thing, he couldn't destroy me trying to protect me. Zara read the words twice, her heart breaking. He thinks he broke you. He did. But I also broke him. We broke each other. That's what love does in our family. It doesn't have to be like that. Jaewon's smile was infinitely sad. You really believe that? You really think you can love him without losing yourself? I have to try, Zara whispered. Because I'm already halfway gone. 3 days later, Minho returned covered in blood that wasn't his. Zara was in the kitchen making tea when he walked in, and she dropped the cup, ceramic shattering on the floor. He looked like death, exhausted, hollowed out, dangerous. Is it done? She asked. It's done. Did you? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. Minho moved past her to the sink, washing blood from his hands with mechanical precision. Park Young-soo won't threaten you again. Neither will his organization. Zara should have been horrified. Instead, she felt relieved, and that terrified her more than anything. Thank you. Minho's hand stilled. He turned slowly, water dripping from his fingers, and stared at her like she'd said something incomprehensible. You're thanking me? You protected me. I slaughtered 17 men tonight. Men who wanted me dead. Zara. Her name sounded like a prayer and a curse. You should be running from me. You should be terrified. She crossed the kitchen, stepping over broken ceramic, and took his wet hands in hers. I am terrified. But not of you. I'm terrified of how much I'm starting to need you. I'm terrified that every time you leave, I'm afraid you won't come back. I'm terrified that I'm falling in love with a man who thinks he's a monster. Minho pulled his hands away like her touch burned. Don't. Don't what? Don't feel? Don't care. Don't love me. His voice cracked. I told you I destroy everything I love. Then destroy me, Zara said, reckless with emotion. Because I'm already yours, Minho. I was yours the moment you stood in that doorway and looked at me like I was worth burning the world for. I was yours when you sent me flowers to remind me I'm still your wife. I was yours when you killed for me tonight. Minho backed away, shaking his head. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying I choose you. I'm saying I want this, whatever this is. I'm saying I'm not afraid of your darkness because I've lived in darkness my whole life. And you're the first person who's ever made me feel like I deserve light. Something broke in Minho's expression. He surged forward, capturing her mouth in a kiss that tasted like desperation and blood and promises neither of them could keep. Zara kissed him back with everything she had, her hands tangling in his hair, and when he lifted her onto the counter, she wrapped her legs around his waist and held on like he was the only solid thing in a world that wouldn't stop spinning. I can't be gentle, he warned against her lips. I don't want gentle. I want real. Minho kissed her throat, her collarbone, the curve of her shoulder, and every touch felt like a brand. If I take you upstairs, I'm not letting you go. Ever. Good, Zara breathed. Because I'm not leaving. He carried her to the bedroom, and this time when they came together, it was her husband claiming her, fierce and possessive and achingly tender in ways that made her cry. Minho kissed away her tears, whispering in Korean words she was starting to understand. Mine. Always mine. I'll kill anyone who tries to take you from me. Later, wrapped in sheets in Minho's arms, Zara finally asked the question that had haunted her since the beginning. Why me? You could have anyone. Why arrange a marriage with a girl from Nigeria you'd never met? Minho was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, 5 years ago, I was in Lagos on business. I saw you at a market, arguing with a vendor who was trying to cheat your mother. You were fierce and beautiful and you made me laugh for the first time since Jaewon lost his voice. I had my people find out everything about you. Your name, your family, your dreams. I watched you from a distance, telling myself it was just curiosity. But then your father's company started failing, and I saw an opportunity. Zara's breath caught. You bankrupted my father's company? No. He did that himself with bad investments. I just didn't save him when I could have. I waited until he was desperate enough to accept my terms. Minho's arms tightened around her. I know it was wrong. I know I manipulated the situation. But I wanted you and I'm not a good man, Zara. I take what I want. She should have been angry. Instead, she felt something warm unfurl in her chest, The terrifying certainty that this dangerous man had been obsessed with her for years, had orchestrated everything just to have her close. That's insane. I know. That's controlling and wrong, Anne. I know. And somehow it's also the most romantic thing anyone's ever done for me, Zara admitted, hating herself a little. What is wrong with me? Minho rolled on top of her, his weight deliciously grounding, his eyes burning. You're perfect. That's what's wrong. You're so perfect I can't breathe when you're near me. You're so perfect I killed 17 men tonight without hesitation because they threatened you. You're so perfect I'm terrified every second that you'll realize you deserve better, and leave me. Zara cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. I'm not leaving. Stop waiting for me to run. Everyone runs eventually. I'm not everyone. She kissed him softly, a promise. I'm your wife. And I stay. The next morning they returned to Seoul. Minho moved Zara into his private residence, a penthouse that occupied the entire top floor of the city's most expensive building. Jaewon lived there too, in a separate wing, and the first breakfast the three of them shared was awkward, intense, and strangely domestic. Your brother hates me, Zara whispered to Minho when Jaewon excused himself. He doesn't hate you. He's afraid for you. Because of you? Because of both of us. Minho poured more coffee. Jaewon thinks he's in love with you. He's not. He's in love with the idea of you, the fantasy of a woman who could save him from our life. But it feels real to him, and that makes everything complicated. Zara set down her cup carefully. Are you saying your brother is in love with me? I'm saying my brother touched you first, and he's not good at letting go of things either. It's a family trait. Minho. I'm not worried, he interrupted, though his clenched jaw suggested otherwise. Because you chose me. You chose me, and I'm selfish enough to keep you even knowing it hurts him. That afternoon Zara met Minho's inner circle, 6 men who ran his organization with ruthless efficiency. They looked at her with a mixture of respect and curiosity, clearly wondering what kind of woman had captured their boss's attention so completely. Mrs. Kong, the eldest one said, bowing slightly. We're honored to finally meet you properly. Minho SSI has told us much about you. Has he? Zara glanced at her husband, who looked vaguely uncomfortable. He said anyone who disrespects you answers to him personally. Another man added with a slight smile. And that if anything happens to you, he'll dismantle our organization from the inside out to punish whoever failed to protect you. Very romantic. The men laughed and Minho glared. But Zara felt warmth spread through her chest. This was his version of love, brutal and absolute and completely uncompromising. By the end of the month, Zara had settled into her new life with surprising ease. She'd started taking Korean lessons, exploring Seoul with bodyguards who became more like friends, and working remotely for a non-profit that helped African immigrants. Minho supported everything, clearing obstacles from her path with the same efficiency he used to eliminate enemies. But the shadow of that first night never fully disappeared. Zara would catch Jaewon watching her with longing in his eyes, or find sketches he'd drawn of her hidden around the penthouse. Minho noticed too, his possessiveness intensifying until Zara felt suffocated by the weight of two brothers' obsession. You need to talk to him, she told Minho one night. I have. What did you say? That you're mine, and if he touches you again, I'll break both his hands. Minho's voice was flat, matter-of-fact. Minho, I'm not losing you to anyone. Not even my brother. Zara straddled his lap, forcing him to look at her. You're not losing me. But you can't threaten Jaewon every time he looks at me. He's hurting and you're making it worse. He hurt me first by taking what was mine. I wasn't yours yet. We were strangers on our wedding day. Minho's hands gripped her hips hard enough to bruise. You've been mine since the moment I saw you in that Lagos market. Time and distance and contracts don't change that. You were always meant to be mine. The intensity in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her melt against him, surrendering to the inevitable. Then help your brother let me go. Because this, whatever this is between the three of us, it's toxic. I know, Minho whispered against her neck. But I don't know how to fix it without losing one of you, and I can't survive that. The confrontation came on a rainy Thursday evening. Zara was in the penthouse library when she heard shouting. Actual shouting, which meant Minho was yelling because Jaewon couldn't yell back. She ran toward the sound and found the brothers in Minho's office. Jaewon's phone shattered on the floor. Minho's face twisted with rage. What happened? Zara demanded. Minho turned to her, and his eyes were wild. Tell her what you just told me. Jaewon's hands moved in sign language Zara had been learning. I told him I'm leaving. Going to Japan. Starting over. Because of me, Zara said quietly. Jaewon nodded, and the sadness in his expression broke her heart. He picked up a piece of paper from the desk and handed it to her. It was a drawing. Her and Minho together, smiling, happy, whole. At the bottom, he'd written in English, "Some loves are meant to be admired from a distance. I hope he makes you happy. I hope you make him human again." Zara's eyes filled with tears. Jaewon, you don't have to leave. Yes, I do. Because every time I see you, I remember that night. And every time I remember, I hate my brother a little more. If I stay, I'll destroy what you two are building, and you both deserve better. Minho's anger seemed to deflate. He moved to his brother, gripping his shoulders. Don't go. We'll figure this out. Jaewon shook his head and signed something that made Minho's face crumble. Zara didn't need a translation to understand. I need to find my own life. Let me go, Hyung. For once, just let me go. The next morning, Jaewon was gone. Minho didn't speak for 3 days, didn't eat, barely slept. He worked obsessively, came home covered in bruises from fights. Zara suspected he'd started just to feel something. She tried to reach him, but he'd built walls so high she couldn't find a way through. On the 4th day, she'd had enough. Zara walked into Minho's home office and locked the door behind her. He was at his desk, staring at his computer screen without seeing it, and he didn't even look up when she approached. You need to stop punishing yourself, she said. I'm working. You're drowning and you won't let me help you. Zara walked around the desk and turned his chair to face her. Talk to me. There's nothing to say. There's everything to say. Your brother left because of me. He left because of me, Minho interrupted, his voice raw. Because I'm toxic. Because I ruin everyone I love. He was right to go. Zara cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. You didn't ruin him. You saved him. You've spent your whole life protecting him. And now he's strong enough to protect himself. That's not failure, Minho. That's success. I drove him away. You let him grow up. There's a difference. She kissed his forehead, his cheeks, the corner of his mouth. And you need to forgive yourself for wedding night. Jaewon made his choice. I made mine. It happened and we can't change it. But we can stop letting it poison everything good between us. Minho pulled her into his lap, burying his face against her neck. I wanted to be your first. I wanted to be the one who made you feel cherished. And he took that from me, and I hate him for it, and I hate myself for hating him. He didn't take anything, Zara whispered. Because you're still my first in every way that matters. You're the first man I've chosen. The first man I've trusted. The first man I've... She stopped, afraid to say the words. Minho pulled back, his eyes searching hers. Say it. I'm scared. Say it anyway. Zara took a shaky breath. You're the first man I've loved. The only man I'll ever love. And I need you to stop waiting for me to leave, because I'm not going anywhere. Minho kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been suffocating. Like she was the answer to questions he'd been asking his entire life. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were wet. I love you. God help me. I love you so much it terrifies me. Then stop being terrified and just love me. He carried her to the bedroom, and they spent the rest of the day rediscovering each other. Slow and tender and healing. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Zara finally felt like they'd turned a corner. The following week, Minho took her to meet his father. Chairman Kong was in his 70s, a man who'd built an empire on blood and ruthlessness, and he looked at Zara like she was a curiosity he couldn't quite figure out. So you're the African girl who captured my son's heart, he said in perfect English. I'm the African woman who married your son, Zara corrected gently. Chairman Kang's eyebrows rose and then he laughed, a sound that seemed to surprise even Minho. I like her. She has spine. She has more than spine, Minho said quietly, his hand finding Zara's under the table. She has everything. The dinner was surprisingly pleasant until dessert, when Chairman Kong leaned back and studied them both. Jae-won called me from Tokyo. He says he's not coming back. Minho's grip on Zara's hand tightened. He needs time. He needs purpose. You coddled him too much after the kidnapping. Made him soft. He lost his voice because of me. He lost his voice because of our enemies, Chairman Kong interrupted. And instead of letting him become stronger, you tried to protect him from everything. Look where that got you. He's in another country, and you're here feeling guilty for living your life. Minho stood abruptly. We're done here. Sit down. Chairman Kang's voice was steel. I'm not finished. Zara squeezed Minho's hand and he sat jaw clenched. Chairman Kong turned his attention to her. My sons have been competing for everything since birth. Same face, different souls. Jae-won is soft, he feels too much, loves too easily. Minho is hard, he protects too fiercely, controls too completely. Together they were balanced. Apart they're disasters. What are you saying? Zara asked. I'm saying Jae-won will come back when he's ready. And when he does, you'll all need to figure out how to coexist without destroying each other. Chairman Kong smiled, but it wasn't kind. Welcome to the Kong family, daughter. Where love is a weapon and loyalty is currency. That night Zara couldn't sleep. She found Minho on the penthouse balcony smoking a cigarette. A habit he'd supposedly quit years ago. Your father is intense, she said, joining him. My father is a monster. I'm just following in his footsteps. You're nothing like him. Minho laughed bitterly. I'm exactly like him. Ruthless, controlling, willing to destroy anything that threatens what's mine. You're also capable of love. Real love. I've seen it. Zara took the cigarette from his fingers and stubbed it out. And I need you to stop sabotaging us because you're afraid of becoming your father. What if I can't help it? What if it's genetic? Then we'll figure it out together. She wrapped her arms around his waist from behind, resting her cheek against his back. But you have to let me in, Minho. All the way in. No more walls. He turned in her arms, and his vulnerability was stark in the moonlight. I don't know how to do this. How to love someone without suffocating them. Start by trusting that I'll tell you when it's too much. Start by believing I'm strong enough to handle your darkness. Start by accepting that I chose you knowing exactly who you are. Minho rested his forehead against hers. I want to marry you again. Properly this time. No contracts, no arrangements. Just you and me choosing each other in front of everyone. Zara's heart skipped. We're already married. That wedding was a business transaction. I want a real one. I want to look into your eyes and promise you forever and mean every word. I want the whole world to know you're mine by choice, not circumstance. Are you proposing to me? I'm telling you I'm going to marry you again in 3 months. You can wear whatever you want, invite whoever you want, but at the end of the day, you're walking down an aisle to me, and this time there won't be any confusion about which brother is waiting. Zara laughed through tears. That's the least romantic proposal I've ever heard. That's because it's not a proposal. It's a declaration. Minho kissed her softly. Say yes anyway. Yes. Always yes. The next 3 months were chaotic. Minho threw himself into wedding planning with the same intensity he brought to everything, and Zara found herself caught between amusement and exasperation as he micromanaged every detail. He wanted traditional Korean elements mixed with African ones. A small ceremony but an extravagant reception, and absolute security because he still had enemies who'd love to ruin his happiness. You're being ridiculous, Zara told him when he rejected the 5th venue option. I'm being thorough. You're being controlling. Minho pulled her into his arms, and his smile was unapologetic. I'm ensuring our second wedding is everything our first wasn't. Let me have this. She let him have it because she was learning to pick her battles, and because watching him care so deeply about their wedding made her fall even more in love with him. 2 weeks before the ceremony, Jae-won came home. Zara was arranging flowers in the penthouse when she heard the elevator, and then there he was, thinner, tanned, with longer hair and eyes that seemed clearer somehow. He carried a single suitcase and looked uncertain, like he wasn't sure he was welcome. Jae-won, Zara breathed. He set down the suitcase and signed. I heard you're getting married again. Thought I should be here. Does Minho know you're back? Not yet. I wanted to see you first. He hesitated, then signed. I need to apologize. For everything. For that night, for complicating your marriage, for running away instead of dealing with my feelings like an adult. Zara crossed the room and hugged him, feeling him tense before slowly relaxing into the embrace. There's nothing to forgive. You gave me a gift that night. You made me feel cherished when I thought I was entering a loveless marriage. Yes, it was complicated and messy, but it also showed me that tenderness was possible in this family. Jaewon pulled back, signing rapidly. You love him. Really love him. I really love him. And he loves you. I can see it in every email he sends me, every time he mentions you. He's different now. Softer. You made him human again, just like I hoped. You made yourself human again, Zara countered. By choosing to heal instead of staying broken. Minho will be so happy you're home. As if summoned, Minho walked through the door, stopping dead when he saw his brother. For a long moment, the twins just stared at each other, and Zara held her breath. Then Minho crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled Jaewon into a crushing embrace. Jaewon hugged back just as fiercely, and Zara saw tears on both their faces. Don't ever leave like that again, Minho said roughly. I don't care how complicated things get. We figure it out together. Jaewon pulled back and signed. I'm sorry, Hyung. For everything. I'm sorry too. For being controlling, for threatening you, for making you feel like you had to choose between your family and your peace. I'm okay now. Tokyo is good for me. I found a therapist who specializes in trauma. Started painting again. Met people who don't know our family name. Jaewon smiled. I'm ready to come home and be your brother again without the baggage. Minho glanced at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. Then stay. Be my best man at the wedding. Help me prove to Zara that the Kong men can be functional when we try. Jaewon's smile widened and he signed. I'd be honored. The days before the wedding passed in a blur of final preparations. Zara's family flew in from Nigeria. Her mother, her 2 younger siblings, aunts and cousins who filled the penthouse with laughter and chaos. Minho handled it all with surprising grace, charming her mother with his careful Igbo phrases and winning over her siblings with expensive gifts and genuine attention. He's good for you, her mother said the night before the wedding. I see it in your eyes. You're happy. I am, Mama. Even though it's complicated. Love is always complicated, NWAM. What matters is whether you're willing to fight for it. Her mother squeezed her hand. And I think you both are. The wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. Zara wore a custom gown that blended Korean and African aesthetics. White silk with intricate gold embroidery, a traditional Nigerian gele head wrap in gold and crimson, and jewelry that had belonged to Minho's late mother. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Jaewon appeared in the doorway of her dressing room, looking handsome in his tuxedo. He signed, You're breathtaking. Hyung is going to lose his mind. Good, Zara said with a smile. He deserves to be a little undone. Can I give you something? Jaewon pulled out a small box. Inside was a delicate bracelet with 3 charms. A paintbrush, a lotus flower and 2 intertwined rings. Jaewon, it's beautiful. The paintbrush is for me. A reminder that I'll always care about you, even from a distance. The lotus is for you. You grew beautiful despite the mud you were planted in. And the rings are for you and Hyung. May your love be as permanent as gold. Zara's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. For this, and for being so gracious about everything. Thank you for loving my brother the way he deserves. He's been alone for so long, even when surrounded by people. You ended that loneliness. Jaewon kissed her cheek gently. Now let's get you married before he comes looking for you himself. The ceremony was held in a private garden estate outside Seoul. Cherry blossoms falling like snow. 200 guests watching as Zara walked down an aisle scattered with rose petals. But she only saw Minho, standing at the altar in a black tuxedo. His eyes locked on her with such intensity she felt it in her bones. When she reached him, he took her hands and his were trembling. You came, he whispered. Did you think I wouldn't? I've been terrified all morning that you'd realize you deserve better and run. Zara squeezed his hands. I'm not running. I'm choosing you. Again and forever. The officiant began the ceremony, but Zara barely heard the words. She was lost in Minho's gaze, in the promise she saw there, in the certainty that this right here right now was exactly where she was meant to be. When it came time for vows, Minho spoke first. Zara, I'm not good with words. I'm better with actions, with grand gestures, with burning the world down for the people I love. But you deserve words too, so here they are. I was half alive before you, going through motions, building an empire but feeling nothing. Then I saw you in Lagos and something shifted. You made me want to be better, to be softer, to be human. Our first wedding was a business arrangement, but this one is a choice. My choice to spend every day proving I'm worthy of your love. I promise to protect you, to cherish you, to let you see all of me, even the dark parts I'd rather hide. I promise to trust you when you say you're not leaving, to believe I'm allowed to be happy, to build a life with you that's based on love, not fear. You're my heart, Zara. You're my home. And I'm yours completely. Zara was crying openly now. Minho, you saw me when I was invisible. You chose me when I thought I wasn't worth choosing. You showed me that love doesn't have to be safe or easy to be real. I promise to stand beside you in the darkness and the light, to be your peace when the world demands your violence, to remind you every day that you're not a monster. You're a man who loves fiercely and protects completely, and I'm honored to be loved by you. You're my unexpected miracle, my dangerous blessing, and I choose you today and every day for the rest of our lives. The officiant pronounced them married, and Minho kissed her like he was staking a claim in front of God and everyone watching. The guests erupted in applause and Zara laughed against his mouth, dizzy with joy. The reception was a blur of dancing, toasts, and celebration. Chairman Kong gave a speech that was surprisingly emotional, welcoming Zara officially into the family. Jaewon toasted them with sparkling cider, signing a message Minho translated. May you find in each other what I'm still searching for. A love that heals instead of hurts. Late in the evening, Minho pulled Zara away from the party, leading her to a quiet balcony overlooking the garden. Seoul glittered in the distance, and music drifted from the reception hall, but they were alone. Happy? He asked. Deliriously. No regrets. Only that we wasted 3 months being dramatic when we could have been this happy the whole time. Minho laughed and the sound was free, unburdened. I love you, Mrs. Kong. I love you too, Mr. Kong. He kissed her softly, reverently, and when he pulled back, his eyes were serious. I want everything with you. Marriage, family, forever. Will you give me that? I'll give you everything, Zara promised. Starting tonight. 6 months later, Zara stood in the penthouse bathroom, staring at a positive pregnancy test with shaking hands. Minho found her there, frozen, and his eyes went wide. Is that? I'm pregnant, she whispered. For a moment Minho just stared. Then he dropped to his knees, pressing his face against her still flat stomach, and his shoulders shook. Zara ran her fingers through his hair, her own tears falling. Are you happy? She asked. He looked up and his face was transformed, joy and terror and overwhelming love all at once. I'm terrified. I'm going to be a terrible father. I'm too controlling, too violent. You're going to be an amazing father, Zara interrupted. Because you know what it's like to grow up afraid, and you'll make sure our child never feels that way. Because you love fiercely and protect completely. Because you're not your father, Minho. You're better. He stood, cradling her face. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. I'm going to buy out every baby store in Seoul. You're going to be reasonable and let me help decorate the nursery. I'm going to hire the best pediatrician in Asia. You're going to relax and enjoy this with me. Minho kissed her, and his smile was blinding. I'm going to love you both so much the whole world will know you're mine. We already know, Zara laughed. Trust me, everyone knows. The pregnancy was relatively easy, though Minho became even more protective, if that was possible. He accompanied Zara to every appointment, read every parenting book, and started designing a nursery that looked like a palace. Jaewon visited from Tokyo monthly, bringing gifts and painting murals on the nursery walls. You're going to spoil this baby, Zara told them both. Absolutely, Minho said without shame. It's our job, Jaewon signed with a grin. 8 months later, Zara went into labor during a board meeting. Minho carried her out personally, leaving his executives gaping, and drove to the hospital himself because he didn't trust anyone else. The delivery was long and difficult, But when their daughter finally arrived, tiny and perfect with Minho's eyes and Zara's skin, everything else fell away. "She's beautiful," Minho breathed, holding their daughter like she was made of glass. "She's ours," Zara said, exhausted and elated. They named her Naomi Jiwoo, a name that bridged both their cultures, meaning pleasant and beautiful wisdom. Chairman Kong visited and actually cried holding his granddaughter. Jaewon flew in from Tokyo and spent an entire day just staring at his niece in wonder. But it was Minho who surprised everyone. The ruthless mafia boss became a devoted father overnight, handling midnight feedings and diaper changes with the same intensity he brought to business deals. He sang to Naomi in Korean, read her stories in English, and promised her daily that no one would ever hurt her while he was alive. "You're obsessed," Zara teased one night, watching him rock their sleeping daughter. "I'm in love," Minho corrected. "With both of you. My entire world is in this room." 3 years later they had a son, Elijah Minjun, who inherited Zara's smile and Minho's stubborn determination. The penthouse that once felt cold and empty was now filled with toys and laughter, and the chaos of family life. Jaewon had returned to Seoul permanently, opening an art gallery that showcased his paintings and became one of the city's most celebrated spaces. He'd found love too. A quiet librarian named Hannah who didn't care about his family name and loved him for exactly who he was. One evening the entire family gathered for dinner. Minho and Zara, Jaewon and Hannah, Chairman Kong, the children running around causing delightful havoc. Zara looked around the table and felt overwhelming gratitude. "What are you thinking?" Minho asked softly. "That I'm glad I married the wrong brother on our wedding night." He raised an eyebrow. "Careful. That's still a sensitive subject." "Is it? Because if Jaewon hadn't done what he did, we might have started this marriage cold and distant. Instead, we started with passion and honesty and all our cards on the table. It was messy and complicated, but it was also real." Minho considered this, then smiled. "Are you saying you're grateful for the chaos?" "I'm saying I wouldn't change anything. Every mistake, every complication, every moment of darkness led us here. To this. To our family." He kissed her temple. "You made me human again, Zara. You and our children. You made me believe I deserved happiness. You always deserved it. You just needed someone to show you." That night, after the children were asleep and the guests had gone home, Minho and Zara stood on their balcony overlooking Seoul. The city sparkled beneath them, endless and bright, and Minho wrapped his arms around his wife from behind. "Do you remember what I told you on our second wedding day?" he asked. "You said a lot of things. I said I wanted everything with you. Marriage, family, forever. And you got it." Zara leaned back against him. "We got it. I know. But I want to make sure you're happy. That this life, my life, hasn't been too hard on you." Zara turned in his arms, cupping his face. "Minho, listen to me. This life is everything I never knew I wanted. Yes, it's complicated. Yes, it's sometimes dangerous. Yes, you're still controlling and possessive and occasionally completely unreasonable. Wow, thank you. But you're also loyal and protective and deeply loving. You've given me a family, a purpose, a home. Our children adore you. Your brother found peace. Even your father has softened. You didn't destroy everything you loved, Minho. You made it flourish." He rested his forehead against hers. "I love you. More than the first day, more than yesterday. More than I'll probably love you tomorrow because somehow it keeps growing. That's how forever works," Zara whispered. "It just keeps getting better." They stood there holding each other as the city lights twinkled below. Two people who'd started as strangers in an arranged marriage and became each other's everything. The girl from Lagos and the mafia boss from Seoul, bound by a wedding night mistake that turned into the greatest love story either had ever known. Inside, their children slept peacefully. Across the city, Jaewon painted in his gallery, finally free of the ghosts that had haunted him. And in the penthouse, Minho and Zara held each other close, grateful for every twist and turn that had brought them to this moment. Because sometimes the wrong beginning leads to the perfect ending. And sometimes love, real messy complicated love, is worth every single battle it takes to claim it. The black African girl who'd slept with the wrong man on her wedding night had found her forever with the right one. And the Korean mafia boss who'd thought himself unworthy of love, had learned that sometimes the greatest power wasn't in destroying enemies, but in building a family. Together they'd conquered the darkness. Together, they'd built a light that would shine for generations. Together, they'd proven that even the most impossible love stories could have fairy tale endings. And as Minho kissed his wife beneath the Seoul stars, with their children dreaming inside and their future stretching endlessly bright before them, he finally understood what home really meant. It wasn't a place. It was her. Always her. Forever her. His Zara. His wife. His everything. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe to Afrokorea TV.